One.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Hi. I like Symphonia, so I assume if you're here, you do too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Sorry.
So
Me and Abyss. It's my favorite.
this is exactly what it says on the tin. It is my insane theory on why Lloyd Irving should have been a half-elf and how it could have massively improved the game, in my opinion. Now, I love Lloyd Irving. So this is all done with love and not a like, obviously we can critique the games we love, and I do, but I love it. Okay. This is me, and this is you, and I have connected the dots. I have connected them.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely connections.
Okay. There are obviously going to be lots of spoilers. Yes, this game is 20 years old. Yes, I am still saying this because I care a lot.
Oh, you're good. I do it too.
Yeah, so if you don't want to be spoiled for the game, side material, Tales of Fandom information, as well as some information collected from the Kratos novel, you can do something about that now or not. It's up to you. I don't run your life, so. Okay. It's too late, okay. So you're probably wondering, why did this come about? Like, what were you thinking? So.
What prompted this?
Yeah, exactly. I figured people would ask, because it's a weird thing, especially like 20 years later. What prompted this? So, the story is literally about a half-elf who saved the world, but he didn't have more than literally 3 people on his side. And then when one of them died physically, the other 2 kind of went away in their grief, and he didn't have anyone to really support him, and the world still kind of hated him, because, you know, even though he ended the literal war, he's a little half-elf boy. And he has immense power, and because of that, world got fucked up.
You know, we're zooming in on that. Let me see. What's that say? Fucked?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, just making
It's
sure.
spaced out for emphasis.
Fucked.
Fun fact, I can't fix him, but my 14-year-old self did think I could. Probably can't. Because the issue is the racism.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, half-elves have been oppressed for goddess knows how long, or why. Because we've even seen in snippets revealed in oftentimes side stories, but like half-elves still didn't have rights. They were like subclass citizens, like kind of like how they are in Tabatha during the game time. And like, one thing that is not pointed out a lot is crucius crystals are an ancient tag. And in the modern times, designs use people in the declining world, we know that bit. But who became them back in the day? Because it probably wasn't going to be the humans or the soldiers. So that's the kind of world Mythos is from. And yet, there are 2 half-elves in the party, and that is all we get of the party. And their half-elfness isn't really explored beyond, yeah, we're half-elves, and oh my god, you still like us, Lloyd. And like, yes, I get that, and there's bits here and there, but like, it could have been way explored more, especially in Tabatha and the anti-half-elf sentiment, as well as Silverant with them like proceeding to destroy the ranches and whatnot. That kind of feels like a regeneration. And then, of course, the scene. What scene, you ask? This one, towards the end. Then where should the half-elves go? We opened our hearts, but no one took us in. Where should we live? And I don't have clown music. Please imagine clown music. Anywhere you can live anywhere you like. I'm serious. Anywhere is fine. If you aren't doing anything wrong, you should live proudly in the open. And baby boy, I love you. I love you so much. I love this boy a ridiculous amount. That's not how it works. That's not how the racism works, unfortunately. Because you could still get hate crimes. And you know, Tabatha sure try that. Harley in Asgard tries that, and he still gets kind of shat on. So, and Lloyd should know this. It's been the entire game. He should know this. So, that's basically how I came about this, because I think about this game too much, because that is who I am as a person. So, you're wondering now, how could he be a half-elf? Like, his humanness kind of, like, it's there from the beginning, and knowing with his parents both being humans, how can we make it happen? We You just change his parents' backgrounds. I bought this for this, but also because I love them so much. And you can get in the artist alley. It's the same person selling these.
Oh yeah.
And there's one of those, and then someone else has prints for them as well.
Same person.
Yeah.
Same person.
Are you sure?
It's a beautiful. I bought a
Little 4
graphic
mini
from
prints.
them.
Thought there
Yeah.
was. I think one of the other artists has prints then too.
I gotta go do
I need
another
to find
circle.
one. Okay. So, how do we go about changing the parents' background? Also, this art is from the Hydroculture Kitsunemi. They have this. The dojin itself is called RGB for red, green, blue. I have it personally. It's great. You can find it online. It's not translated unless someone is selling a translation, but I love the art and I love how they portray Anna. Said tweet. So Miss Anna Irving, I love you so very much. Basically the same. She lived in Lewin. She was now probably in a ranch raid. We don't super know. They're vague. You know, Anna's compatible with the Angelus Project. We don't know. Something happens. Maybe she escaped. Maybe Kratos wrote her out to fuck with Kavar. We just don't really know. Now, personally, I like to imagine it'd be like a really long, slow burn with them like more reason behind Kratos just helping her just to fuck with designs, or like maybe he's, cause like, yes, Karen Alderman. But like, he's so sad and so depressed after the whole thing with Eichler at the tower, which is what led him to his little solo, sad, depressed trip around the world, we assume, just away from Mythos and the gang. And as much as like Uncle de Fudo it's nice for fairy tales, but like, he's just really, really bogged down. So I feel like a little more of a romance slow burn would be more realistic with him. But we all, you know, we all make our own fun along the way. Write fanfic if you want. But TLDR, I imagine it's tense, they bond, they're loved. She's perfect, no notes, A+, 10 out of 10. So, for Dad, Kratos Orion. We're changing him. So.
Oh, whoa.
Kratos' new background! Yay!
Yay,
And
here we
not
go.
that we have much information at first, but. So. He's directly a half-elf now. He's from a mom's affair. I know there are people who imagine half-elves are probably either like subclass citizens or servants or slaves, something like that. Whatever it is, Kratos' mom now had an affair. He was raised hiding in plain sight. Much like us queer folk, terrified of being outed and being guilt and anxious for it. Maybe that's why he's so quiet. But he has rounded ears, because half-elves can have rounded ears. Just look at Ewan and his model. So, he learned magic in secret. It wasn't he had to eat the magical rock or needing a Crucius crystal. He just had it in him. That was probably his excuse going forward as to, whoa, how can you use magic? Secret project. So that's probably how he'd answer.
I signed an NDA.
Exactly, thank you. Now, he still has all the human education, the privilege. He was a knight, so he still has the knightus and the honor and whatnot, because obviously. And as a secret half-elf, you know, he's not gonna be like, no, I'm a half-elf, because the world's fucked and it's in the war. And again, harkening back to who became the first X-spheres and equivalent of Crucis crystals, is probably half-elves. And being revealed that, oh, you've been secretly a half-elf this entire time, it's probably not gonna go over well. This also ties in to a little fun fact. He had fallen in love with Princess Soleil way back when, but it couldn't be because he was a knight, she was a princess and engaged to someone else, and maybe she died. I can't fully remember, but that's an even more reason for him to be sad about it not working. Because it could never be, even if they were a knight and princess, because he's a half-elf. It's very scandalous and very juicy, and I love it. And this also gets higher tension between Ewan and Kratos, because Ewan is a Silverant. He's from Asgard before it was called Asgard. And it's noted, I think in the novel, that he first encountered Kratos on the battlefields. Because he was able to be in the army because Silverant needed troops, I'm assuming. And he just hated the way Kratos fought or something like that. I can't quite remember. Christa might. I don't know if you do.
I only got the most cliff notes ever when it came to that
You're
novel.
valid. My UN friend, who is sadly not here, would know, but oh well.
I mean, if you got a link, I'll go through it.
Yeah, I'll see. But instead of just, you are so tense-faced, this, why I hate you, it is a Silverante struggling half-elf versus a Tetheala human-passing liar in their ranks. And between the war and probably propaganda, the fact that this guy, this knight, gets to live as a human and they don't know and enjoys all the privileges and prestige of that would piss him off. And that'd be great for their friendship. I say this like they were immediately friends. You know, we all have this syndera. This would also strengthen Kratos' bond with Mythos, because Mythos had always looked up to Kratos as a mentor. You know, it's no secret that Mythos wanted Kratos to get with Martel, to be like a father figure to him. But obviously that didn't happen. But with this, you know, it's not only Kratos being his mentor. Kratos is a fellow half-elf. So he knows, they have that bond of like kinship, of being in the same boat, especially once Kratos does leave Tetheala, once he does desert to travel with the Yggdrasils and Ewan. So that'd be an even stronger bond. And like, it's still gonna get pretty unhealthy, like it does in the game, with all the guilt and association. But the loyalty is gonna be more assumed to be there because there's that solidarity between half-elves, which, from what we can tell in the game, between Renegades and Desians, that's really important to them. Also, for a half-elf, saving the world, even though it kind of hates them, is really peak idealist behavior shit, and that's kind of, that's some real hero stuff. It would really emphasize how far Mythos has fallen, if it's for half-elves, especially, just to really punch in, the world literally hates them, but they're gonna save it anyway, because that's who they are, and that's some idealist behavior, and it's an even stronger parallel to Lloyd. This also just makes Kratos less of an outsider to the Seraphim, Crucius, and Desians. Like, this, and by him being less of an outsider, it can explore those parallel bonds, like those bonds of solidarity and community in half-elves that's really sorely lacking. Like, we hear about them, like, we hear about, oh, there's half-elves on the fringes of OZ, even though OZ hates half-elves, but we never see them. And we don't really get a whole lot of info about the half-elves that are supposedly oppressed, because aside from the named ones, we don't see them. And like, there's clearly hints that it's there. And I think that'd be great character-wise to explore. So, second slide. This also, in turn, makes him turning away from Mythos all the more significant, because just like with you, and it is turning his back on that bond with his little students when his fall happens. And especially with the highlighted bonds of community and like kinship, that's a bigger deal now. Instead of just, oh, they abandoned him because Mythos lost it, it's despite everything, they cannot go along with him anymore. Wording, context, it matters. But Kratos has lived as a human before. He can do it again, regardless how he feels. He knows how to live among them and can see how humanity in this twisted world of Silveron Tetheala has and hasn't changed on his solo sad trip around the world until he meets Anna. And not only that, Mythos isn't really going to share that Kratos has left him. Because Ewan is going to be double traitor at this point, yes. But Kratos leaving, oh, that would be a burn and a blow. So he's not really going to say anything, I imagine, because that would seriously undermine, rather than just an outsider leaving. And there's not, oh, it's a human after all, it's, he left? What? Despite everything?
He left?
He left? Why would he leave? He's a half-elf too. It emphasizes all these points. And it makes Kurna even more of a forbidden love. Because it's a human and a half-elf. And Anna going through being a literal human experiment at the hands of Desians, who are majorly half-elves, and still being able to bond and fall in love with and accept and forgive Kratos for everything he's done that's contributed to this, that's developed them, that has been involved in the culmination to lead to this point in history, is like, that is the light of his life. And it's like all the hope he's ever had being right there. And it's like, oh, it still does exist after all. And it really, really emphasized that maybe Mythos' way is not correct, that there is another way, because people aren't all bad. Despite all the shit and all the crap, there is still good in humans, even especially because of this human who's been through all that and still knows it's not their fault. Everyone has their own choices, and that is what you judge them on. And they can get along. It's not just because humans are shitty. They're kind of shitty, but it's not only because of that. So, Lloyd Irving! Woo, there's my son. I love him so much. Half elf, technically quarter elf, but it's so, we don't really need to split hairs about this. And half elf rolls off the tongue more than fourth elves or quarter elves. So.
And it's a racism metaphor, so.
Yeah, but does it really matter? So,
If Kratos' dad was a half elf,
Yeah.
then Kratos is already quarter elf.
no. Kratos' mom is a human who had an affair with
An elf.
an elf.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Okay.
he's half. He's technically a quarter. So he's direct. He, like, if his ears were pointed, they'd be like, oh, half.
Yeah.
Even if he's like, no, technically my mom's human, we don't care, half. So, like his dad, rounded ears, human passing. Local idiot doesn't realize he can use magic.
Oh my god.
He doesn't know. It doesn't occur to him. He grows up thinking he's human.
Well, he's got the rock on his hand. Of course he can use magic.
Yeah, and like, with how spellcasting is in Symphonia, it's very much like a concentration thing. That boy has ADHD, he cannot concentrate. He can't concentrate, so of course he doesn't realize he has magic. Of course he doesn't realize it. But he does have a better gut feeling on people or monsters. It's the mana. He can sense mana. He doesn't know he can sense mana, but he can sense the mana. That's the thing. So his vibe check is now even more accurate. It's not just him being good at, like, you know, it's not just his high social intelligence, which he does have, because obviously we played the game, but he's got that 100% vibe check. Obviously he still raises as a human. There's my quarter elf note. It's for simplicity. And it's my panel, so make your own. So, onto the game. But I thought about this so much. So, life in Acelia. It's much the same. He goes about thinking he's a human. Does Dirk know? We don't know. Can they sense mana? We don't know. I sure wish we did. It'd be nice to get some more dwarven lore, but they won't give us that. So, gotta figure that out for ourselves. Gotta use our own little.
There are 2 dwarves.
2 dwarves! 2 dwarves! And we get no lore except, oh, Kirsten has them.
Even in Fantasia, the dwarves are basically gone, extinct by Fantasia, so.
I know. Makes me so mad. So, Reed and Genus, they know. It's canon that half-elves can sense other half-elves. With Harley and Asgard. Like, they know. They know. But, like, Rand says, hey, he's stupid. Don't say anything. Give him the chance that we would have loved. Give him the chance that he gets that we don't have. Also, he's really stupid. He can't lie.
He's getting the human side of the elf side that they're doing.
Exactly. And like, Genus is gonna get a bit of envy because he never had that chance. They have to pretend to be elves, but if Lloyd is not the most charismatic and sweet and charming person, who still befriends him, even thinking he's a human and Genus is an elf, who still befriends him despite that because he doesn't care. Like, how can he not be friends with this idiot half-elf? And so begins, in present day, the question of half-elf solidarity. Also, in case you're wondering, Lloyd just thinks brain Genus, that's just what all elves are like. He's like, okay, seems legit. He doesn't know. They don't really interact with the Desians at the ranch. And Desians aren't gonna bother Dirk and Lloyd, not just because they're like in the woods, assumedly farther away, but like oh, it's a half elf hanging out with a dwarf. Okay, it's weird, but whatever. You know,
We're not gonna
they'll
make
just let
him
them
join.
be until like after the whole Marvel thing, because it's like, it's just a half elf living in the woods with a dwarf. We've seen weirder shit. We've seen worse things. We got other things to worry about, like our own war crimes. So who cares? This also potentially could make designs a little bit more like, oh yeah, we can do a treaty. We can do a treaty with the Celia. I mean, they're chill. They let this half elf show up half the time. Like, it's gonna be fine. And I mean, who's to say the Chosen Village isn't also gonna accept him? Like, it's fine. So, you know, maybe on occasion they'll go to the town in like, you know, civilian uniforms, act like travelers or passing by, and I mean, hey, they just don't address it. People assume they're elves because their ears look like the sages. They're like, oh, I guess there must be some elves nearby because we don't know where they are in Silverant. Where are the elves? And so it'd be so peaceful and so interesting of a little thought experiment to see how it was until shit hits the fan. So Lloyd's reveal, when would it happen? I've thought about this a lot. I've changed it around a few times, but obviously it's going to happen the worst possible moment for him.
Mhm.
So in the game, there's a moment when Lloyd and Gina's help Marvel when she's getting whipped by the Desians. And reviewing the footage, first he's just like, review the camera footage. And he's like, how the hell did a human make that kind of jump? If no human can, it takes on a whole new meaning. Because he's not a human. And then, here's the double whammy when the village is suddenly burning. Not only do they find this monster they're fighting as Marvel, but he's a half-elf? What? What does this mean? So he has to deal with the shock of killing a monster Marvel, of being exiled from the village that he inadvertently helped destroy, and being a half-elf. Like, they turn on him immediately. We've seen how they are. Like, it's not just an indefinite exile at this point, it is permanent, because he's a half-elf. And fuck half-elves, am I right? I'm not right, oh my god. And Gina's is gonna get real awkward at this point. Because he knew this entire time. But Lloyd didn't know, and not only did he not know, but Gina's did. And now he feels bad about that. Am I gonna have some skits or scenes about that or something? Because that is a big elephant in the room.
That's like 3 skits of like Genus working his way up to telling him and then not doing it.
Yeah. It'd be funny and hurtful all at once. So the journey to find Colette isn't just to help her or help the world or because he wants to see Colette regenerate the world, but he's got to prove not all half-elves are bad. He's still the same person. It doesn't matter. Like, he's the same person he's been all this time.
Mhm.
Like, they're not all bad. He's not bad, so they all can't be. Regardless, whoever his birth parents are that he doesn't know, whether his mom was a half-elf or a human, he's pretty sure he's human since he finds out about her stay at the ranch. Like, he's still him. And if he can help Colette regenerate the world somehow, surely that will prove he's not a design, he wasn't trying to hurt anyone, and he can help too. Because he's good. He's a good guy. And of course, that leaves the question who his dad is. And really harms that childhood fantasy of, if my dad's dead, okay, did my parents love each other? Was mom in love with him? Did his dad even care at all? Or what happened? Because chances are, if his mom was human, his dad wasn't. Where does that leave them? So here's some key scene changes. So the reunion with Colette would change a bit because Lloyd can't lie. And he can't lie to Colette. I mean, he can, but for this kind of thing, I feel like he would...
He doesn't want to.
He'd have to come clean. I mean, Rain already knows. Rain already knows, and like, honestly, who cares about Kratos? This one thinks he's so strong.
This rando who I've never met before.
This rando who we don't know, and his stupid purple spandex. And like, but also conversation he'd have of like, Colette, I am a half elf. Like, she wouldn't mind. She wouldn't mind. She's Colette. She doesn't care because they're her friends. Him and Genus are the two friends she's ever had. Of course she's gonna like love him no matter what. And obviously we all know she has a crush on him anyway, so there we go. There's also a kind of hint Kratos doesn't really have a lot of suspicion towards half-elf if he's like fine with it. Cause like yeah, he'd be like, if that's what the Chosen wants, fine. And kind of hint at his paternity of like, this stranger man doesn't really seem to mind half-elves. Okay, this is cool. And it would foreshadow, again, that the sages are half-elves because they don't mind, even though they're elves.
Well, it does just make it a party of half-elves helping the Chosen.
It helps so much! It gives us more in-depth... more than two, Bamco, please! So, another key sea change, because, of course, we all love Kratos' metal line to Gavar. Feel the pain of those inferior beings as used at hurt in hell. No notes, 10 out of 10. That's for Anna. Wasn't about Kratos himself. They can think it's about Kratos himself. It was about Anna. No notes. We keep it. I need that to be very specific because I love that line. It is fucking cool. Well, Tokyo. I guess it's technically sideback. You get what I mean. When Junus and Sage get carted off to Mel Tokyo because they're half elves, Lloyd's gonna be with them now because he's a half elf now. And not only does he know, but like obviously the blood tests are going to show up, and then going to be more discussions with Genus and maybe Rain, and the little thing as it's what are we going to do now? It's fine. Lloyd can pick locks. They don't count on that. Altessa's probably going to be a bit more worried when they meet the group though, because he worked with half-elves researchers for Persea. And then suddenly this group of mostly half-elves kind of show up on his door asking about her. That's gonna be a little more friction. It's gonna be relevant. Like he's gonna be like, oh god, what next? Oh god, is there another subject? Is that what's happening? So he's probably gonna be a little more hostile. Thankfully, Tabatha, the goat, she doesn't care. She's an android. She's just gonna say the same things. He's upset about what he's done. It's not you, it's him. Heimdall. Village of elven racists. So, obviously it's going to be a bit of a problem. I'm not exactly sure how it'd be fully changed, but Lloyd being a half-elf would definitely change because it wouldn't be just Rain and Genus outside the village, but they wouldn't want Lloyd in either. But Lloyd has to be in there to find out the information, so there'd be some more convincing in some way. Not 100% sure, but it'd come up, it would change. I'm not sure how, it would.
You could pull an Archie from Fantasia and just sneak in anyway.
Hey, there you go.
No
He sneaks
consequences.
And then Archie almost got put to death for that, so they could have a boss battle.
We get to fight some elves. I love it. I love your minds. We do that. What she said.
Sneaks in and sells his parachute pants.
They're big enough. Okay, so another big part of the game that we find out later is the Ring of the Pact and the origin technicalities. Because what is a half-elf? He could use the sword, right? What about Kratos? He's a swordsman. Why can't he just wield it? Well, Kratos is the seal. The seal itself cannot wield the sword because that'd be there'd be no point in having a separate seal from the summoner if that's the case. Why not just make Mythos the seal? End of deal. Because it's so much power, we separate it. So Kratos is the seal. He can't wield it. And then with Lloyd being only a quarter, can he technically wield it? Is it so specific? Is it it has to be half-elf? Is it possible that just because he's got half-elven blood in him that he can wield it? Or do we still gotta find some workaround with the Ring of the Pact? That's what Kratos is searching for. Not just materials in case he needs it, but is this even possible? How do we get this to work? Because if Lloyd can do it, that's great. And strengthens their parallels again. But we don't know. And then of course, everyone's favorite, the tension of if Genus is going to choose Mythos or Lloyd. We could get really into this, especially because I'm going back to the beginning and really changing their dynamic. And they're gonna get closer because, again, we're gonna have more themes of kinship and community and solidarity within half-elves. Like, they're gonna be even stronger. We're not gonna forget that Genus is his bestie, like we do in the game we got, okay? So that's gonna be even more tension point when Genus becomes close with Mythos, because yeah, he's another half-elf friend, but like it's a half-elf friend who's been raised half-elves, knows the consequences, and is closer to him in age than Colette and Lloyd are. That doesn't change. So that's an even bigger decision for the little guy. Now, some new scenes, because we do need those. And these are some that I came up with. There's probably gonna be a million more I could figure out if I like sat down long enough and had an open forum with some people, some fellow Symphonia brain rots, but this is what I got. So, obviously Lloyd's confession to Colette and Rain about his heritage. And Crouch's reaction. Words on the matter. Hint, hint. He wasn't a Desian, so it's fine. Lloyd's gonna have to process and recontextualize most of his life too. Because that's a lot to realize you're not what you thought you were your entire life. It's kind of like being, like, if he wants to be closeted to people, like, does he want to be upfront, hey, I'm a half-elf? Does he want to keep it quiet like the sages do, like, as he comes to learn? Because that's a big thing, especially in, even just in Silverant, where you're not officially, like, a subclass, but, like, people don't like you if you're a half-elf because of the designs and that association. He's gonna have shaken confidence of like who he is and his sense of identity. And we love exploring senses of identity, and it really gives him a bit more of a coming of age arc. So when he does mature through, we see it build back up as he does prove himself that he is good, and I love him. We're gonna get a little more with Harvey and Liner, because Harvey's the only half-elf name we see that isn't a Desian. Because Mythos is technically a Desian when you get down to it. But he's the only one. How does he live in Asgard? His house is a mess. It's underground. But, you know, how that came about. How did they befriend each other? What is Harvey's life like? We're going to get more on Harvey, because I think it's so fascinating. We have this named half-elf that's just living his life. We don't know anything about him, really, except he's friends with Linar, might have a crush on Aisha. I mean, who wouldn't? I do. But we need more on them, because I say so. Also, we're gonna see more half-elves in Silverant. See how they're struggling. See where are they? Are they hiding in plain sight like the sages? Are they living in the open, dealing with shit like Harvey? Do they have their own communities? And what leads them to becoming Desians anyway? Like, where are their communities? What are their lives like on the fringes or outskirts or separate from humans? Execution from Side Accidental Tokyo, whole new slew of scenes. I mean, we're gonna have to deal with some implied handcuffs. Lloyd can pick locks, but we are not forgetting Rain. Rain is so important in this iteration, and they always forget her, and she's so important. I love her. She's getting more screen time, because we're gonna have this little wagon and jolting around, and we're like, oh my god, Professor, what do we do? The sages are like, have that upset and a little bit of shock from being outed. So they gotta get Lloyd to help them get back on their feet, and we get to fight some knights again. And then the party comes in halfway through the battle, and it's fantastic. I say party, one more person, because it's a 4-part party system, but you get what I mean.
Yes.
Meeting Kate is gonna be different because Lloyd isn't taken to the basement, and that leading them becoming, you know, aware of Chrysaea's being part of the Angelus Project and saving her is going to be different. Don't worry, gang. Sheena brokered the deal because she appeared. And we know she struggles with being mean, but she's been there at the Asgard Ranch. She was there for the X-Fear thing. So she'd keep them informed. She'd broker the deal to get Zelos, Chrysaea, and Colette out, because someone needs to be responsible, and Zelos will not. Unless he has an audience, because he's, you know, Mr. Heel-Face Revolving Door. Chrysaea is barely conscious, and Colette is comatose, basically. So Sheena leads the charge, and oh, what's that? Sheena is the Tetheal and Lloyd Irving strikes again? Yeah, more parallels. We love to see them emphasized. I love Sheena. I'm sorry.
You never apologize.
Oh, that's racism. If you when you get there, before and after you fix Presea, like, they're so fucking mean. They'll be like, I won't serve you if you're a half-elf. Or like, there's a little kid, he's like, hey, do you want to play? Oh, but we can't if you're a half-elf. Or like, they just say racist-ass comments. And it's mentioned when we save Mythos, when Ozette is burning down, there are half-elves on the fringes of Ozette. Okay, where are they? Where are they? Bamco, where are they? We need to see them. See how hard it is for them to live there, because, you know, they're second-class citizens. That's the word I've been struggling to find this entire time. They're second-class citizens in Tepeala. We need to see their little pathetic little huts and how they're destroyed afterwards, because, again, Mythos has kind of fucking lost it by this point. If we see with Ozette that all these little half-elf communities on the fringes are also destroyed and those lives are lost, it really shows Mythos is so far off the path. It's not just making the world better for half-elves, it really is just anything for Martell, and that is it. Too far to go back, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care if you're on his side or not, or just a bystander, or just an innocent half-elf. Doesn't matter. Emphasizes the fall. And the Tetheons, they're all gonna have scenes now addressing their internalized racism. Like, Presea is from Ozette. Yes, they kind of ostracized her, but she was like barely conscious for it, you know? So what was it like growing up with having that internalized racism? Regal, he is upper class. What are his thoughts on it? You know, did he have half-elf servants? Did he care? Was he even affected? Did he even think about it? Or were they just so far removed from him he only has like stereotypes? I mean, Zealous even mentions in certain skits like, you know, we're taught, you know, half-elves are lazy and stupid and they can't contribute anything, that kind of stuff. Like, I want to see it. I want to see it. Give Regal and Presea especially more stuff to say and do and express. We need more 3-dimension.
Didn't Bamco forget about Regal when they did the switch?
They did.
They forget about Regal a lot.
They forget about him most of the time, yeah. They really do. Poor daddy. Now, Zealous also being a fugitive is going to be more political because he's a fugitive with at least 3 half-elves. So it's going to be more of a political statement and not just theocracy versus monarchy power play.
I like at least 3.
At least 3. At least 3 that they're aware of. Like, that's more of a political statement and even really going to emphasize, oh, Pope is really out to get us because he's the Pope of racism here. He really is.
No,
His daughter's a half-elf, and yet here we are.
That's true.
But don't worry. We have Dirk saying, you're my son no matter what, no matter where you come from. Because he's a great dad, and he loves his stupid idiot son, regardless, whether he knew or not, regardless what his son went up to, he loves him.
Dirk's just like, I should have figured that out. My bad.
Who knows? We really just have no idea.
Maybe Dirk did know, and he was like, I'll tell you when you're ready.
He's like,
And then
he's not ready for that yet. He's not ready for that yet. I mean, God knows he kept the Anna thing from him too, because we know what early game Lloyd is like. We know. We love him, but we know. So, some miscellaneous ripple changes that have come to my mind that I thought are fun enough to at least put up there. It's gonna be more like interactions with Designs and Renegades throughout the game. The dialogue's would shift a little, because like Lloyd's a half-elf, but he's fighting them. Like there could be comments of like, you could be one of us, or why are you fighting? We're the same. Really, really little things like that, even if it's not a whole lot. You know, and even then, when Lloyd is first kidnapped by the Renegades, and they let Genus go, because he's a half-elf too, like, that could leave Genus wondering, wait a minute. What is that? Oh, never mind. I gotta get help. I gotta find Colette. Oh, Lloyd. Crouch's words to run me out the tower would have to change. How do they change? Great question. I have no idea. But they would, because if he is not a human, then he doesn't have to say like, do you seek help from that which you despise most? I was once one of the inferior race. Well, he's not anymore, so I don't know how they're changing, but they are. Zealous's arc of learning to trust Lloyd & Co. is going to have the obstacle of internalized racism. Because, like, yeah, he's contentious with Genus throughout, and he acts flirty with Rain, but like Lloyd directly is like the main character. He's gonna have more interactions, and that's really gonna come into play. Also, it's kind of ironic when you think about it, because he's playing the field, and everyone he's playing with is a half elf basically at this point. So,
Except Sheena.
Okay.
All roots are canon.
What?
All soulmate roots are canon.
Exactly.
Yes.
Even that one.
So, more side and tucked away areas of half elves as I've talked about. And like I've mentioned, we're gonna get the debate of if committing war crimes as a design is worth the community and stability and safety it gives them. With all the new NPCs we see in these little areas, in Silverant especially, because it's really gonna make you feel and make you think of like, what choice do they have? What are their choices? What are their prospects? Because we don't see it, and we need to see it, because it's so integral to why the world is the way it is. And Lloyd does not need to say that stupid shit that he does. Okay, back to it. Also, there's higher stakes for the convict art, when they're like, you know, wanted criminals. Because, if they're caught, everyone but Zealous, Regal, and Presea is confirmed dead. Colette is the Chosen, dead. Genus, Rain, Lloyd, half-elves, dead. Sheena, Mizuhoen, didn't kill the Chosen, traitor, dead. That's 5 bodies if they get caught. And that's assuming that the Pope just doesn't kill Zealous anyways, and assuming that Regal can buy him and Presea bail, because of course he's gonna buy his almost sister-in-law her bailout, but still. Higher stakes, we love to see it. And then also, exile dialogue to the party, because so many of them make comments of like, oh, I've never talked to a human before, and like, just little things like that. I just think it'd be neat to see the change. That's it. That's an accidental bubble. I don't know what I was gonna put there. So I talked a lot about the narrative, but don't worry, I thought about the battle too, because I overthink everything. Lloyd gets magic. He can't use normal magic, but he can use some kind of magic. Who loves magic swords? We do. We love magic swords. So he does have elemental affiliation. This is kind of based on Dawn of the New World's attempt to kind of like make that a mech with everyone having a singular element. But if you look at Lloyd's like text in the game, he does have some elements that keep popping up in his moves. There's lightning, fire, wind, and earth. So those would be what he's drawn to. Because like, most enemies that have an elemental affiliation has like a couple. Kratos has a few, not a lot. Genus can't do dark or light. Rain can only do light. Everyone has their own little elemental affiliation. Those are his. So, it's less spells, but more like elemental text. In that, he's a melee DPS, but those specific moves with the elemental text, and he'd have more of them, would do magic damage instead. So, less dealing with physical defense, more with magic. So it'd be really helpful if you're like, I need a spellcaster, but I don't want to, oh my god, we're splitting the party up. There's only 3. How do I fight him? Oh, use Lloyd. Make sure you put Lloyd in that group, or make sure the spellcasters are in the other group, because Lloyd is fast enough and melee enough, but still has that perk. It'd be very fun.
Do you think that we could get like a post-battle skit where Lloyd is talking about wanting to cast 2 spells at once because he uses 2 swords?
Absolutely, you are hired. You're hired.
Oh my gosh.
So, the strike and technical things they have on the bar, that is going to have more of an impact on his move. I know with a lot of spellcasters, it's AoE versus single target. That could affect strength. It could be, they don't really have dots in Symphonia, but it would have some sort of, are they wider text? Like, is it Tempest Twist? There's some text that, get a little AoE around him. It'd be stuff like that, because it's magic, and we love magic. It would also potentially affect the stats that you want to equip on him, because especially like intelligence versus strength, do you want to strengthen more? Do you have him strength for his melee damage, or do you want to hit up his magical damage? Because there's gear that does both, but it's not as great with the normal strength by contrast. So like basically think the Bravely Default spell fencer, if you know what that is, but Tails gameplay, kind of like that. enchant their swords in that game, and then it's no. Okay. So we're about towards the end. My throat is dry. Here's the other things we want that we should get, but that this is my panel. I can say what I want anyways. Okay. Lloyd is at least tan, because he needs melanin, or he's gonna get sunburned. Because you cannot tell me that boy does not spend so much time outside.
Yeah.
He's gonna be tan. Ideally Hispanic coded, because I say so. Sheena's background is getting more expansion. Also, she is a half elf.
Hey.
Okay? Like, we all know that, right? Like, she's from Mizuho. She was found in the Gaurakia forest. What else is near the Gaurakia forest? Ozette. Why would someone abandon their child? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because they had an affair or a love match with a half-elf and their child would be ostracized, and they would be ostracized for associating with a half-elf in the first place. So what do we do with the baby? Abandon it. Mizuho. No. Oh, look, there's a child. Let's raise it. This child can summon. That is an elven fucking art. It says that in the text. Sheena says, like, I probably have elven blood in me. She's not like Lloyd dumb, but she's a little dumb. She could not realize it. There's not like there's half-elves in Mizuho to figure it out. She can summon. She was abandoned, like, she's a half-elf. We know this, right?
We do now.
Thank you. More Silveranti elf theorizing, because I will not stop talking about it. Where are they? They cannot all be in Tethe'ala, or there only be designs in Silverant, and Harvey's existence alone disproves the fact that only designs exist in Silverant. There are Silveranti elves, we just don't know where. Where are they? There's going to be some mention or reference to the Fallen, because there is a book in the game that references how humans that help the designers are considered the Fallen, and then they do nothing with that. They do nothing. They drop this good idea, and they do nothing with it ever at all. Yes, I will, in fact, die mad about it. Okay, we also need to acknowledge in the game somewhere that George is the villain in Regal Alicia's love story, because, like, hello? He straight up sold a woman, and the woman was a human, which I feel like should, like, they
not
should be
allowed.
able to do that in Tethe'ala at least. Like, if she was a half-elf, different story, but, like, hello? Hello? There's also the question, does Rico pay a fair wage for his workers? Or is he secretly evil kind of billionaire that they don't want to discuss?
Maybe that's why Bamco ignores him.
They just don't want to talk about
But
the
they-
ethics of billionaires.
But they are the big company.
Yeah.
They are a big company. So you think they'd want to celebrate him, but they don't. They just kind of ignore him. So, like, does he pay a fair wage?
No.
Like, I'm curious.
It's open to interpretation.
I'm gonna
It
be
is.
honest,
Not
he
bring down
probably
enemies.
doesn't pay enough attention, and George is doing all the real work.
And we all know George is a fucking villain.
Yes.
That's the problem. Okay. We need more costumes because I think they're fun. And I like it when there's in-game costumes you don't have to pay for.
Yes.
So more of those, and I like the fun little side quests. Thank you. And Kratos, if you get him, inexplicably gets more costumes. His own versions. So if you got the swimsuits and stuff before Zelos kicked it, he comes in and he has a wetsuit. If you did a formal party, oh look, he suddenly has a formal outfit. How fun. How exciting. The bonus is each time we get one of these and you equip it on him and then fight in a battle, they're going to comment on his outfit. And it's going to be like, Kratos, where did you get that? And he gets to mention that Anna made them for him once when they were together. And he kept it. I mean, we already have like wing pack hammer space. Why can't he have that? So he gets that, and that's why he has them, and why they're tailored to him. And maybe they're a little silly, but he likes them, and his wife made them. And then we get a little more Anna lore, and I love you, Miss Anna Irving. Are you single?
She's not.
I know, but I can dream.
Maybe they'd be open.
Also, this is more of a fun fact, but you can calculate Regal's age when he was imprisoned by the hair length, because like in the flashback, it's like here, and in the game, it's like here. And if you calculate, assuming by averages, how the length of his back based on his height, as well as the average hair growth, not calculating in, of course, poor hair growth due to negligible nutrition and whatnot, you can calculate how many years he's been in jail, which is pretty fun. A friend and I actually did this. He was like 28 when it happened, so it was like 5-ish years ago or something. case you're wondering, Alicia was probably in her early 20s. So, like, it's weird, especially with the boss-employer dynamic, but, like, it's not that weird. Kratos is, like, over 4,000. We don't give him and Anna shit for it. So, like, go girl. Live your romance billionaire fantasy novel before its truly tragic and untimely unfair end. I'd love you for it. Anyway. Also, I want more Wilder sibling scenes. Preferably at least one. At least one. That at least addresses or kind of dances around Celeste's similar heritage to Lloyd. Because she is also a quarter elf. Because her mom was a half elf. That Zealous' dad had a kid with. Because he loved her. Which is why after her mom killed Mylene, Zealous' mom, she's imprisoned even though she literally did nothing. She was a child. And I think it'd just be neat to have that parallel brought up. Especially because he is the heel-face revolving door. I just think it's neat. In conclusion, Bamfo should hire me to remake Symphonia, but like for real this time. Scenes, dialogue, side quests, settlements, battles, everything. And I will help rewrite it. I'm very good at it. Please hire me. Lloyd Irving is my boy, and I will handle him and the rest of the cast better than they ever have for the past 20 years. Yes, I am talking about the utter neglect and indifference to one of the best Tales games ever. I will die on that hill, and I will shame you and be mad. Till I die, and probably afterwards, for good measure, because it deserves better than what they give it. Anyway, I hope I've infected you all with this idea of mine. Like me if you write any fanfic. Okay, thanks, bye!
Yay!
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah!
Lloyd figuring out that Kratos is his dad. How does this change it?
Oh, he goes like, wait. That's like, wait, what? Because like for a while too, they're thinking half elves are all like, except for Colette, because she's the chosen. Angels are all half elves. Like, so I can imagine them like theorizing, oh my God, is Kratos a half elf? I mean, no wonder he was fine with Lloyd joining us, being a half elf, because he was one too. And then suddenly after, like, what do you mean Kratos is my dad? Holy shit! And then it's like, oh my God. Did Kratos love how did he meet my mom? We're gonna get skits on that. That's a great idea.
I was thinking about how the Ramiel dialogue would change after you brought it up.
Yes.
And one of my ideas that I had was him being like, well, maybe being a race trader runs in the family.
Ooh, that'd be so good. I love it. I love it.
But that might be too early for the dad drop, so.
It would at least be confusing.
Yeah.
And there's so much information dropping on them right then. Yeah, it'd be. I love that idea. I love that idea.
I want to comment on Regal and Alicia.
Yes.
There's a drama CD, I think it's translated on YouTube, where like, it's all about how they met. She came on to him.
Girl, get
So
it!
it really was
like,
the billionaire romance.
Get it! I
So
love
it really was like the billionaire romance.
She
novel.
made her dreams
No,
come true.
she would like change the flowers out, and he was like, "You don't have to do that." She's like, "But I want to." I stand them forever. They're
I
beautiful.
love that. Yeah, no, because like we don't get an Alicia age in the game, but Persea is 12 when she underwent the start of the Angelus project, because that's what she is physically at. Okay, Alicia is her younger sister, so she's like a year or two younger probably, because she was young when she went off to work in the service of a noble. Probably worked her way up over several years, but like that doesn't really give us much to work with. So like it's, but again, their mom died when Persea was a child. Okay, when she was pretty young, and then their dad got sick. Like, there's not a whole lot of time. Like, there's no way there's like a 10-year age gap. You know? So it's pretty safe to say she's in her, probably would have been in her early 20s in present day game. So like, yeah, it's an age gap. It might be a little weird given like it's a fantasy game. Let me have this.
Yes.
Let her have this. She's literally dead. Okay? She's literally dead. Let her have it.
We've already fridged her.
I know. At least stop being weird about it. It's not her fault that the animators made her look so bad, so fucking young in the OVA, which you really shouldn't have. Like, if you look at her model and compare it to Persea's, her model is the young adult model. Like, her hair's in the weird pigtails. That's just a fashion choice, okay?
Yeah.
You know, when you marry a billionaire, you can do what you want with your hair.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Don't be mean. I will cry.
This was fantastic.
Yay! Anyway, I'm serious about that fan fiction though. If you write it, you have to link me. That's the rule. Thank you. Okay. Okay, thanks for coming, everyone!
Yay! Good job.
Thanks.
See, you were awesome. Nothing to be worried about.
Thanks. I haven't given a presentation since like